A man appears in the frame, struggling to drag a large, heavy object wrapped in dark material. He pauses, looks around, glances straight at the camera, and then continues toward his car. The object is the size of a human body. That man was Shayla Cabrera, and what he was dragging was the lifeless body of his wife, Shayla Cabrera. This haunting footage would become the key to unraveling one of the most shocking and heartbreaking cases of 2025. But to understand what happened that night, we need to go back to who Shayla was, who is her husband, and how love slowly turned into fear.
Shayla Gutierrez Cabrera, 33 years old, was a proud mother of 3 and a hard-working woman living in Lancaster, California. Born and raised in Peru, Shayla was known for her gentle spirit, her dedication to her children, and her dream of building a better future for them. Friends describe her as warm, kind, and full of life, the kind of person who could light up any room with her smile. She loved her family deeply, and everything she did was for her kids. Behind that smile, though, those closest to her say there was pain, a quiet sadness that she didn't talk about often. Shayla's journey to the United States was one of hope and hard work. She wanted safety, stability, and a chance to raise her children far from the struggles she had once known. But instead of finding peace, she found herself trapped in a nightmare.
Shayla met Shayla Cabrera years earlier in Peru. They were both young, ambitious, and full of dreams. Their love story began like any other. Sweet messages, shared laughs, promises of a better life together. Eventually, they married. And when the opportunity came to move to the United States, they took it, hoping for a fresh start. They settled in Lancaster, California, where they built a home and started a family. On the outside, it looked perfect. But behind closed doors, their marriage was beginning to unravel.
Shayla Cabrera, 36 years old, was described by neighbors as quiet, polite, and hardworking. But those who knew him more closely said there was another side, a man who was controlling, jealous, and easily angered. He had a temper that would turn small arguments into explosive fights. Friends say Shayla had started to pull away. She wanted to work, socialize, and be independent, but Shayla wanted control. He often checked her phone, questioned her whereabouts, and isolated her from people she trusted. To the outside world, they looked like an ordinary family, but inside that apartment, Shayla was living in fear.
Their relationship began with love, but slowly turned toxic. Neighbors recalled hearing yelling at night, arguments that would end in silence. Shayla's friends noticed changes in her, less communication, more excuses, and a growing sense of fear in her voice. Still, she tried to hold things together for her children. She believed that if she stayed calm, if she avoided conflict, maybe things would get better, but they didn't. Every day, the tension grew heavier, and Shayla began to realize something many victims come to understand too late, that love alone can't fix a person determined to control you.
By early August 2025, Shayla had made her decision. She was ready to leave. She'd confided in friends that she couldn't live like this anymore. She had even talked about finding a new home for herself and her children. But when Shayla found out, something in him snapped. He couldn't stand the thought of losing her, not out of love, but out of control. And that decision to finally walk away would cost Shayla her life. Investigators believe that around August 10th, 2025, an argument inside their apartment turned violent. The evidence suggests Josimar attacked Shayla, killing her inside the home. Then, in the dead of night, he wrapped her body tightly in dark material and dragged it out of the apartment, as captured on that chilling doorbell footage. He placed her inside his car, drove out toward the Angeles National Forest, and disposed of her body deep within the woods, hoping no one would ever find her. But he didn't stop there. He took their 3 children and fled.
When Shayla didn't show up for work and family couldn't reach her, they immediately contacted the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Detectives went to the couple's apartment and found it unusually clean, with faint traces of blood and signs of a rushed cleanup. The doorbell footage confirmed what they feared. They quickly identified the man in the video as Josimar Cabrera and realized he had already left the country. Police tracked flight records and discovered he'd flown to Lima, Peru, taking the children with him. What began as a missing person case was now officially a homicide investigation.
On August 16, 2025, 4 days after she was reported missing, a hiker walking through the Angeles National Forest noticed something strange at the bottom of an embankment. Wrapped in dark material, partially hidden beneath leaves and branches, was a human body. Detectives arrived, and heartbreak followed. The remains were identified as Shayla Cabrera. The coroner's report confirmed it. This was no accident, it was murder. The discovery devastated her family, but it also gave them one thing they had lost: the truth. Meanwhile, U.S. authorities worked with Peruvian officials to locate Josimar Cabrera. An international extradition warrant was issued, charging him with murder and child abduction. The children were found safely in Peru and returned to the United States, now in protective care. Josimar Cabrera remains the key suspect, and both governments continue to work toward bringing him back to face justice. It all began with a doorbell camera. A silent witness that captured the moment truth and horror collided. What Josimar tried to hide in the darkness was brought into the light by a single lens. Shayla Cabrera's story is one of love, strength, and the courage to finally say enough. But it's also a reminder of how quickly control can turn deadly. If you or someone you know is living in fear, speak up, reach out, and get help. You could save a life. Rest in peace, Shayla Cabrera.